going on, guys? Custom Arts Mods here. Today we're going to be talking about binding and bind plugs in particular. Now, one thing about this RC hobby is that you always need a bind plug when you don't have one, and you can always count on having a bind plug when you don't need one. They're always just laying around. But one thing that I'm going to set out to do today is show you guys how to make a quick and easy one when you can't find them. So we're also going to show you guys an alternative method for binding using these tweezers, and yeah, so let's go ahead and get right into it. But before that, today's subscriber shout out goes to Magiever. So thank you for subscribing to the channel, and his channel will be linked down in the description below. If you guys would like a shout out, make sure to go ahead and subscribe. So first off, that alternative method I just told you about, basically you're just going to go ahead and use your metal tweezers, and you're going to find the bind port or the bind pins on your receiver, and then just short them out just like that. Very simple. One thing that makes it really hard and impractical is that you have to find a way to hold your bind pins in position and plug in your battery so that it triggers bind mode. So yeah, I'm going to show you guys how to make a bind plug very simply here, and I just use this SG90 servo lead just that I cut off from the servo, and we're just going to go ahead and first pull the actual wires apart so that you can actually access them a little bit easier. And it's kind of a little bit harder when you got these exposed wires, but it shouldn't be that difficult. Now, one thing that we're not going to need is this center one right here. So it's a positive wire, so I'm just going to go ahead and try to pull that out the best I can. These have been a little bit tricky. Okay, so I just went ahead and pulled the wire out. You can see the pins in there, but that doesn't really matter. So next thing we're going to go ahead and do is try to strip as much of this back as possible. And you might break some off, and that's one thing about this is that it's really, really easy to break off if you're not careful. So I'm just going to go from like right here, yep, and that's what we're looking for right there. So just try to strip as much back as you possibly can, and don't be too forceful and don't grip too hard, otherwise it will just break. And I'm guessing that probably this happened to you before, but just kind of stretch it out, and very simple, easy to do, just like that. So now once we got all these, we're going to go ahead and twist them up together just like so. So basically you're just going to be shorting out the signal wires and the negative wires on your receiver cable. So I'm just twisting them together just like I was going to make some wire joint, and then you can see right there, that is pretty much all you're going to need to do. Now, one thing that you can do, and I highly recommend that you do, is go ahead and tie them in a knot, and that will go ahead and just make it so that it's a lot easier when it comes to actually keeping them together for the binding process. And just like that, it's very, very simple, and you are done. So now pull off any excess wires, and then I'm going to go ahead and trim it right at the end of the knot. You can go ahead and put a hot glue over it just in case you wanted to keep it a little bit nicer, and make sure that it doesn't fray as easily. But in my terms, this is all that we need for our bind plug. Now, one thing that's nice about this with the knot is that you can go ahead and clip this to your transmitter or something like that, just like you would a normal bind plug, and you're good to go. No soldering required, very, very simple. So let's go ahead and run over to a demo. Alright guys, so it's time to bind up the FT Scout. So first thing I'm going to do is go ahead and plug my bind plug into this port on the receiver, which is marked with the bind on my Lemon RX right here. And I'm going to leave this open so I can observe the light. And now what I'm going to do is go ahead and plug in my battery, just like so. And you can see it's in bind mode now. So now let's go ahead and hold the bind position on my transmitter and hold it apart. And as you can see, worked perfectly. Let's go ahead and test our control surfaces. Works great. Alright, so that about wraps up the video. Thank you guys for checking this out. Very, very simple, easy thing to do. Very nice to have one with you, especially if you have a bunch of these old broken servos that you can easily make one out of. Again, you can use that tweezer method that I just showed you, and it works great too. So thank you guys for watching. Hope you guys enjoyed this build, and I'll see you guys in the next one.